Hello, welcome to Purple Cat Network. I make videos of my miniature craft projects, focusing not just on my successes, but also my mistakes, so others can learn and improve their own projects, because we're human and we're not perfect. Before we begin, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any more miniature content, successes and fails from me. Now, let's get into today's video. I'm currently working on Emily's Flower Shop, and if you haven't seen any of my other videos in this series, be sure to click on the playlist up here. I'm posting videos of the parts of the build that I find the trickiest in order to share my experiences and tips to help the building process for you much easier. So today I'm going to be doing the lighting, which, often is the least favorite part for many people of miniature building. The very first time I built a miniature, I did the lighting and it didn't work. And I had no idea why, but it just didn't work. And so the next time I went to go do it, I was pretty worried. But I just kept persisting, and now I have a pretty good success rate with wiring. And I really realized that the keys to good wiring is to just have a really solid connection between the two wires. Okay, so here's all the equipment and the instructions that we need for the wiring in this kit. There's only 2 lights, so that makes it pretty easy. And the first thing you have to do is cut off the little end parts on the little diodes so that, you have like just a small part to connect it to. And one side is positive and the other is negative. The instructions tell you which side is which and which one you need to connect the yellow wire to and which one you need to connect the white wire to. That's really important to pay attention to that, because if you don't, your lights won't work because you've connected them the wrong way around. This wire is really delicate. It was really fiddly to connect to the lights, and I think my wire must have snapped like 10 times at least. Super frustrating.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
In the end, I found out that if I held the wire in the opposite direction to the light and twisted it around, it would work much better without snapping. And of course, it's time to test it before adding the shrink wrap tubing. Does it work? And it does work. Okay, great. So now we can move on and test the second light. This is really important that you test it before you do everything, because you want to make sure it's working. And then you can add the heat shrink wrap tubing. So this just goes over the light where it's connected with the wire, just to keep it all in place, because the last thing you want is it coming apart. So now you know this works, the light works, then you can apply the heat shrink wrap tubing and seal it off in place, and then you don't have to worry about it again. This is honestly the most fiddliest part. I use a little bit of fire to shrink my tubing. It's much more effective and faster, although you do need to be careful that you don't catch it on fire, so don't hold it too close to the flame. Alrighty, now both lights are done, it's time to turn them into lights. So this first light has a clear bead and then a little silver bead that goes over to the top to make the light. I always find it quite clever how different beads have been used to create the lights. I just think that it's really, really cool and really cute. I'm using UV glue to stick them because I find that gluing beads and plastic is really difficult with super glues and other glues. It just doesn't always tend to stick, whereas UV glue seems to do a really great job, and it sets within 5 to 10 seconds. So you can keep working. You don't have to stop and wait for your thing to dry if you're impatient like me. So there's a couple of extra beads to connect to this light, and again, I'm sealing them off with UV glue just to make it much easier. Making this light honestly took me, I reckon, less than 5 minutes to get it all done, because I'm using this UV glue. And you can't even see the residue of the glue, which makes that even better. It makes it clean and smooth. The trickiest part is just holding all of the bits in place while it's setting and making sure that you're not gluing it at an angle or wonky or anything like that. And then this light piece just has a little bit of shrink wrap tubing to give it some extra length. And another eyelet this is going to connect it to the roof. Moving on to the second light, this one a little bit more simpler, has an eyelet which then connects the light to the light shade, which is this cute little purpley pink color. Again, I'm using UV glue because it just adheres so much better on these metal beads and much easier and cleaner. A couple more beads to attach to the top of this light. There is one bead, so there is this silver bead that goes on, and then there is another colorful bead. In the instruction book, the bead was blue and I couldn't find a blue light anywhere. And then upon closer inspection, reading the instruction book, it said a bead of any color, any random color. So your bead might not be blue like the instruction book, and it might not be red like my bead. So if you have a random colorful bead, this is where it goes. I think. I haven't found any other place for the bead. These go on top, applying some more UV resin, and you don't need a lot at all. You just need to make sure it, I guess, can have exposure to the light so that it will set. And there we have it, the second light. Really cute. Now I'm just shrinking this shrink wrap tubing on the other light, just sealing it in place. And then the final thing with the lights is twisting the wires around one another so it's just nice and tidy and ready to connect. So these lights get connected to the inside of the roof. There are measurements in the instructions on where to put it, so I just measuring that out and marking it on the underside of my roof. It looks pretty messy with paint, so luckily no one's going to see it. And again, I'm using UV resin because the roof is a plasticky texture and I think it will be the best to set. And then I'm also setting the length of the wire on it as well, just to keep it all neat and tidy too. Putting our first roof fixture in, the wire on the light feeds through a hole on the side there, and then the light just, as you can see, is dangling. You can see it through the window. It's a little bit crooked at the moment, but you can bend the wire to straighten it up. On goes our second roof piece, and I'm just straightening up that wire so it's nice and straight. And that wire feeds through the back as well. Up the top there's a little hole in the roof and they both come out there nice and neatly, so you can wire them down the side of the back of the house. And there we have it. There's our two lights in our mini, ready to go, ready to have the furniture added. If you liked this video, please hit the thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to see more of my miniature content. See you next time.